mash stuff around, and it just started to tumble, and so my hand was. There it is. Hello? Hello?
Angie?
Yes.
Hey, it's Mike Wasserman and Roland Velasco.
Hi.
Hello there. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, can you?
Hear me? Angie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We are there, 300.
Excellent.
Why aren't you here?
What's that?
Question, why aren't you?
This is Kat. Why aren't you here?
Kat, as much as I'd love to be there for 5 minutes, driving, I just finished my 2:30 meeting to 3, which is perfect, and I went out on a limb, and I scheduled a 3:30 meeting just in case we're done with this item in a half an hour.
Okay.
We're going to take a 29-minute break right now and then come back.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. The July 21st meeting of the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency is called to order. Do you need to do a roll call?
Yes. Vice Chair Courtney.
Here.
Board members Wasserman.
Here.
Velasco.
Here.
Varela.
Here.
Kalnan. Here. Tucker.
Here.
Constantine.
Here.
Little.
Here.
And one more. Mr. Glines, I think you're first up.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Mr. Glines from the Public Advisory Commission is
gotcha.
going to make a report.
Thank you. Yesterday we did, Edmund, Jill, and I interviewed 2 outstanding candidates to fill the lone vacancy on the PAC board, and they'll be it'll be coming before the implementation board in September. Interestingly enough, the Morgan Hill candidate read about it on Nextdoor. So, it's Morgan Hill City Hall that's reaching out to social media, and that's how we heard, that's how this candidate, heard about it. So, think about that when you're looking for other, folks to appoint to boards, commissions, and whatever. Also want to welcome John from the Water District, Morgan Hill City Council former. He's another South County rep on the board, and we have the most acreage, so it's good to see another friendly face. Thank you. And then we also want to invite everyone who is going to head north, get on Santa Teresa, turn left on Bailey, and then look to your left, and you will see the Public Safety Consortium Police and Fire Training Academy that we are building, Gavilan College, that we are building right now. It's going to be opening in spring of 2017. Evergreen is giving that up, and so we're welcoming them with open arms. And are there any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any member of the public here who wishes to speak? Seeing none, I think we can move on to the consent calendar, which consists of the minutes of the May 19th meeting.
Wasserman says motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye. Great, we're moving right on. All right.
Sorry, was that an aye from Mr. Velasco also?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Approved unanimously. Mr. Sullivan, I think you
Yes.
have the single remaining item on the agenda.
Single remaining item, an important item, and we thank all of you for attending the meeting today for really the only item on the agenda that is time sensitive. And it's to authorize the executive officer to negotiate and execute a not to exceed $463,000 construction services agreement with D-Line Construction for the Clara County Park Pond and Wetland Restoration Project. So I'll go over a little bit of some of the details. So this is the project I've been talking about and updating the board on over the last several months. It's we're trying to meet the requirements of two regulatory processes, both the endangered species and federal and state endangered species permits per the habitat plan, and advanced mitigation credit for the regional general permit through the Army Corps of Engineers. And we're collaborating with county parks on this particular site and the San Jose Water Company, who needs 401 certification for their Clara water tank project, which is within the park boundaries. So this is a joint effort showing the partnership working between the Habitat Agency and county parks, as well as providing regulatory coordination and clearance for the San Jose Water Company, who was having difficulties finding a place to do their 401 mitigation per the regional board. This went out to bid in June. 13 firms showed up to the pre-bid meeting. Only one ultimately bid on the project. We did some calling to find out why there weren't more firms that bid. One said it couldn't fit, they couldn't meet the timeline, the schedule. A couple firms were intimidated by the number of firms that showed up. And two of the firms that showed up did partner on this project. So D-Line did partner with one of the other firms that showed up. And a couple of the firms were not comfortable with some of the necessity to do some hand augering and using shovels instead of heavy equipment for the work. So those were the reasons why some of the firms did not choose to bid. There was also a complaint on our bid form was a little too complicated. So that's something definitely we can change and maybe readdress if some of these firms were a little put off by our bid form. The good news is, though we only got one bid, the good news is this is a well-respected company, D-Line. We did a reference check on them, and the references were glowing about the company and the quality of their work. We're going to negotiate. This is the price that was in the bid. We're going to negotiate with them. I'm expecting the final cost will be about $380,000, somewhere in that range. We're reducing, we're eliminating one of the tasks, the draining of the pond, which will now be done by county parks because that's very time sensitive. It has to begin before we would get this firm under contract. And then the other, we're shrinking the size of the excavation and the amount of bentonite that would be used to line the pond. So instead of doing a quarter acre, we're only doing 1,500 square feet. So that we're estimating will reduce the cost somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000. So, and that's what we still have to discuss with D-Line about. So we're here today to request the board to authorize me to negotiate with them and to sign a contract.
You still have
Any
40
questions?
minutes.
I still have 40
I
minutes.
have-
I could start singing. And
I have 35 minutes worth of questions.
there you go.
This is Leslie Little for those of you on the phone.
Hi, Leslie.
I was curious, did you have a bid estimate beforehand?
Yes.
What the expectation was for the project?
Yes, and it was like $350,000 was the original bid estimate. My experience has been that I don't have any experience with building facilities like this or some of the work that you all do in your positions and with larger public works projects. But with restoration projects, my experience has been that the price that the designer comes in seems to be less than what the construction companies bid on. There's some projects I worked on in New York and in Placer County that the designer thought it would cost this, and they ended up, they always seem to be higher. I don't know why that is the case, but that's certainly the case this time, and that's part of the reason why we're gonna negotiate with D-Line and reduce the scope of the project to be more in line with the original bid estimate.
I'm sorry, I just had one other question. So this is working in an area that is time sensitive because of the time of year. Is there a restriction about working in the wetlands?
Correct.
And that is what, that October 15th? kind of
Yes.
time frame where you're prohibited from being able to work in the area after October 15th?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. If we didn't have that constraint, we wouldn't be having the meeting today and trying to rush this.
Thanks.
Just to dovetail on that.
Constantine.
All right, you guys, Wasserman, motion to approve.
I have a question.
Another question.
If you can't talk them down, and we're approving this at $463,000, it's almost a third more than what we were originally estimating. Is that what you've seen in the past as far as bids being higher? Are they usually a third higher?
Yeah, I think if
Okay.
we can't take them down, because there's other reasons why we want to reduce the size of the excavation. The Army Corps was uncomfortable with us using that much bentonite on the project, so they might reduce the amount of credit we would get for the project. And to be able to use the RGP, you got to do advanced mitigation, which is very different than how the HCP is set up. Ultimately, we'll set up an in lieu fee program for the RGP that'll be very much like the habitat plan, and we won't have to be doing this. So if we can't, and the water tank, we need to drain that now, so the pond now, so that's why we need counterparts to do that. So if they can't agree to do a reduced scope, then we'll have to go out to bid again, and we'll just have to do the construction in the spring. So
That brings up another question. How much water are we talking to drain? And then what are we doing with it?
yeah,
I swear, Mike, this is the last question.
Yeah, it's going to be put in a 250 or 2,500 gallon plastic storage tank, and it'll be used for water for the cattle that rely on that pond for water.
Okay.
Yeah, so the pond is mostly dry, but you got to get the soil. You got to get all the water out for the soil can start to desiccate, and then for the excavation and the grading. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Second the motion.
Okay.
Any other questions? I think we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Was that Councilman Constantine that seconded?
No.
I didn't hear who the second was.
Varela.
Don Varela.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
And I have one quick thing to say. Thank you for approving this contract. But just to remind all the board, we're going to have a special work study session to talk about the endowment for our September meeting and endowment investment, and that will begin at 2:00.
I'm just glad I had enough extra chairs brought into my office to handle it.
So that's where all our citizens are, huh, Mike?
Exactly.
Okay.
Oops,
Any
are we
final
disconnected, or
comments
is there-
by anyone, or are we prepared to adjourn?
Move adjourn?
I have
Sorry.
some information I'd like to share. So I had a conversation with Stephanie Reyes, she's the Chief Executive Officer of the Greenbelt Alliance, and there's a moving forward on Laguna Seca Preserve. Have we had that presentation? Have we heard that? Which is off of Bailey.
No.
Off of Bailey. Okay, what they're suggesting at this point is to restore that particular area back to what it was 25, 30 years ago. And there's habitat in that area. They're looking at bringing it into what it was like that timeline. For references, it's across from the IBM facility and also the Gavilan College campus. So I think it would be appropriate perhaps to invite the CEO here to give a presentation, to have a full understanding as to what the scope of their intentions would be, and to have a better understanding, and perhaps to gain support of the habitat, because habitat is involved in this particular location, as we all are aware.
Yeah.
And there's another location as well that it escapes my memory at this point, but it's adjacent to that off of Santa Teresa Boulevard.
Okay.
So that's a suggestion I'm offering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know there are people that would love to restore those wetlands.
Yes.
So I'm glad to hear that you're taking an interest in this. And
Very much so.
It'd be good to
Well, the Water
educate
District
us
also
on
has a
it.
very strong interest
Yeah.
in pursuing
Yeah.
with this as well, so absolutely.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm done.
Anything else? Someone like to move to adjourn?
Move adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you in September.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.